Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste and greetings. Welcome to our next Sunday message, Higher Heights. Let's breathe as we prepare. We got some deconstructing and reconstructing to do as it pertains to this title and the concept that the title conveys. Higher Heights takes us higher than where we are right now. We can't lift our vision, quote unquote, and expectations while maintaining a downward gaze. We must elevate our vision upward, beyond the clouds, beyond the stars, beyond the rainbow. I get ready to sing. Beyond the rainbow, to rise to higher heights. The infinite spectrum of spirit, the infinite spectrum that spirit represents and expresses as, all of that applies directly to us. And in such, we have unlimited potential, unlimited energy, unlimited creativity and stuff. We have unlimited and abundant resources at our immediate disposal. We don't say like that word disposal, immediate access to use. However, we first have to remove, eliminate, reduce any hidden beliefs, any subconscious beliefs that are holding us back, holding us down, keeping us chained and shackled to the idea of lack and scarcity and not enough, not good enough. And all of these things that give us the idea that we can't, we don't, we won't, we never will, we aren't good enough, aren't smart enough, aren't talented enough, etc. We live in an abundant and bountiful universe, a universe of greatness, grandness, gloriousness, and that continually exposes us, shows up in, through, and as us, elevating us to higher heights if we are ready, willing, and able to make use of. Now, as you see, there's this idea, higher height, higher, upward, to rise to higher height, elevate, lift. Now, I specifically referenced these, I highlighted these words specifically because of what they represent as linguistic convenience. Now, what do I mean by linguistic convenience? Simply that they represent some form of symbolic representation. Just as we may represent or use black, ooh, that's a whole different conversation, to represent death or evil, while white, once again, ooh, whole conversation, represents life and purity. Red can symbolize passion, danger, etc. Blue, peacefulness and calm, etc. Idea of higher, elevation or elevating, lifting, rising are all linguistic, symbolic concepts. I've used these as examples before, referencing the idea that as a skyscraper goes higher, the foundation must be deeper and more fortified. It's both and. So as we talk about elevating and lifting, linguistic convenience, There's the unspoken understanding that if I am to go high, I must also go low. As above, so below. Open at the top and open at the bottom. It's both and. So in this example, where are you? Where are we? What does it even mean to go deeper? Also linguistic convenience, because there is no deeper, just as there is no higher in essence. Thomas A. Kempis says, the loftier the building, the deeper must the foundation be laid. The loftier the enlightenment, the deeper must the foundation be laid. Well, how do you lay your foundation? What does it mean to lay your foundation? It means being deeply rooted, quote unquote, to your spiritual practices, your spiritual awareness, the truth of your being, principle. The loftier the vision and creative intention, the deeper and more anchored must the foundation be laid. If you want a loftier vision, you want a loftier creative intention, then you must have a deeper and more anchored spiritual practice, spiritual foundation, emotional foundation, mental health practices, self-care practices, etc. Both and. So pause and breathe and ask yourself, well, what is my current foundation? Is my current foundation shaky, questionable, filled with non-life affirming doubt, self-incrimination, judgment, criticism? Because if that's what my foundation is, then my foundation is shaky. It's riddled with cracks. And if I am to elevate, to rise up to higher heights, greater awareness, then I have to refortify. And sometimes that means completely obliterating the current foundation and rebuilding a new foundation. Now, if you're not sure what that means, let's take my life, for example. There was a time when I was a traditional fundamental Christian. In order for me to move into this realm of ministry as an ordained CSL minister, an independent New Thought ordained minister, and others, interfaith and others, the foundation that was God is anthropomorphic. There is a devil that is in hell seeking to tempt and destroy, etc. That entire foundation had to be questioned, examined, and removed for a new foundation of infinite oneness, the all-dwelling, divine, called God, source, spirit. That new foundation needed the old foundation to be removed. Now, it wasn't removed to the degree where I don't know a lot of the things I learned about the Bible and my understanding of what it was about what God is or was or any of it. That stuff is still there because the knowledge is still there. But I don't operate based upon that foundation. I operate based upon the current foundation of what God is, what the devil is, what sin is, what salvation is, as it relates to this teaching, not that. Are you willing to examine your foundation? Are you willing to explore to see, well, where are the cracks? Are you willing to answer the question, what is my foundation and how am I grounded and anchored in it, with it, in order to build from? As I said before, This idea of to go higher as a tree, the roots must be deeper and more anchored. In order to be open at the top, we must also be open at the bottom. Our foundation must be laid plain and strong and fortified, because we use the concept of higher quite often. We talk about a higher power, but there's only one power. There's only one power, one presence. As Unity would say, God the good, omnipotent. We talk about the higher self, but there's only one capital S self that expresses in, through, and as each individualized lowercase s self, but it's still only one. We talk about a higher vibration, and I'm not talking about within, science and the measurement of waves and frequencies, and I'm not talking about there. I'm talking about as it relates to our spiritual self. Higher frequency. In essence, what we're talking about with a higher vibration or a lower vibration, a higher frequency or a lower frequency, a higher self and one's lower self. What we're actually talking about is more life affirming or not. That which is non-life affirming or life denying. Is the energy that you express, is the vibration that you exist with, is it life affirming or non-life affirming? Is the frequency life affirming, non-life affirming? The self that you is it life affirming or non-life affirming? That's absolutely what we're talking about. But for linguistic purposes, we use these words, we use these phrases. But once again, what we're actually talking about is that which is life affirming, that which is not life affirming. So a higher vibration, love, joy, ecstatic, exuberant, bodaciousness, it's a higher vibration. And often we will reference things like anger, grief as lower vibration, but they don't have to be. It's all in what is the anger, what is the grief, what is it opening us up to, what is it doing in us and through us to be stuck in a state of grief or frustration where it's holding us down, holding us back, not giving us the capacity to live fully. And we're pretty much just going by the day-to-day routine without really engaging, then yes, it's less life affirming. Yes. But if we can move through and navigate through the anger, the frustration, the grief, and still embrace joy and gratitude and peacefulness, we can engage in the both and, then that grief, anger, and frustration can also still be of a life-affirming nature. Because once again, there is only one power and only one presence that is the universe itself. We call it God, we call it by many names, but what it is, we must be. So even when I am engaging in non-life affirming things and lower vibrational things, I'm using the power that I am as the divine to engage in these less life affirming things. Breathe. And when you see this, what immediately comes to your mind? Now, you may be thinking, oh, family tree or, something. Oh, it's an organizational chart with the CEO at the top and then the vice presidents or the board and then. Okay, whatever that is, cool. Because the idea is we operate within spirituality. Breathe. We operate within spirituality in the same way that we have been conditioned to operate in the rest of society. We are using secular ideas, the ideas of the mundane, and we're bringing those into our spirituality, which is one reason why, even within our spiritual systems of operation, we still operate within a caste system and a hierarchy. Now, it's easy to identify this in traditional spiritual paths where there's laity at the bottom, God at the top, priests and ministers, etc., in the middle, etc. There's all this stuff. Yes. And we even do that within New Thought, or within CSL, because oftentimes we will put laity at the bottom. Somewhere higher, there's the practitioners, and then at the top or near the top is the minister. Still a hierarchy. It's still a minister-centric paradigm. If we're going to reach higher heights with a holy boldness, going from good to great to grand and all of that stuff, then we need to, one, identify the hierarchy, the caste system, the spiritual caste system, but then do the work to deconstruct it and reconstruct a system that is far more empowering and authentic. Because we talk about this idea of spiraling up to higher heights, but we don't talk about the spiral down. When truthfully, there is no up or down anyway. There's just the circle. God is a circle, circumference nowhere, center everywhere. So right where you are, the higher height is. No matter what you're feeling, the higher height, quote unquote, is right where you are right now. Breathe that in. There technically is nowhere to go. There is no higher place to go. Even if we think about the analogy, the symbolism of climbing a mountain, the mountain is still part of the earth. So even when you ascend the mountain, you're still on earth. And you don't ascend the mountain to stay on top of the mountain. You ascend and then descend. You're still ultimately in the same space, the same awareness per se. Dr. Holmes says, we are surrounded by, immersed in, an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is, say, yours? All of it. How much of it is mine? All of it. How much of it is ours? All of it. The infinite good that we are surrounded by and immersed in, made out of that which it is we are. All of it is available to us. But the question is, are you ready, willing, and able to accept that truth? Are you ready, willing, and able to make use of, to access that truth? Now, just as I described climbing the mountain as symbolic, a labyrinth also is the same kind of symbolic representation. But once again, it's that idea of the spiral, but it's laid flat. There is no higher to go. With the labyrinth, technically you are going to the center representing the higher, the center representing the deeper, the center representing the truth. And so we journey inward from the outer edge. Somewhere there is an entry point, maybe meditation, maybe prayer, maybe dance, whatever that entry point is. And we enter into the space, and then we begin to navigate. And it takes us around. Sometimes we are actually closer to the circle, but we're not the center, but we're not in the center. And then we circle and cycle back out, and then we're further from, but we're still within. How is that any different than life? There are times where we feel closer to God. There are times that we feel further from God. But God being all there is, we can't be nearer or further from, because what it is, we are. So just like meditation, we don't go into meditation to stay in meditation. Because at some point we have to eat and go to the restroom and do other things, bathe. So we enter into meditation to go through the process to then come out of meditation. But when we come out of it, we come out of it different than we went in. Something has changed. We have deeper, quote unquote, awareness. We are elevated in consciousness, quote unquote. So ultimately, what we're being invited into is the awareness that everything we do is an entry point to our awareness that which God is, we are. That which source is, we are. That there is nowhere we can go, there is nothing that we can do that can change that truth. So whether it's going higher, going lower, grounding deeper, whatever it is, we have that opportunity when we're washing dishes, doing laundry. Just as the Buddhist symbol of the unalome represents. Once again, it's a different form of that concept of the spiral, the labyrinth. But it's the idea of moving and navigating, going through the various aspects of life until one reaches that space called enlightenment, illumination, liberation. But even there, we don't stop. Even there is still more to be, more to do, more to expand into, because that which God is isn't limited, it's not bound. So we aren't either. So what are you specifically? What are you invited into? This greater awareness of going higher, going deeper, being grounded, while ascending in consciousness and awareness. What does that for you? What is your entry point into that consciousness, that awareness, and that way of being in the world? And are you engaging in whatever that entry point is? Are you engaging in it on a regular basis? Dr. Holmes says, we are surrounded by an intelligent force and substance from which all things come. It is around us in its original state, ready and willing to take form through the impulse of our creative belief. That which spirit is, that which source is, that which the universe is everywhere present And our invitation is to tap into the truth of our being. Just like right now, as you may or may not know, I am a visual artist. I draw, paint, sculpt, photography, right? But am I doing it right now? No. But is my creativity being accessed in a different way? Yes, because I am speaking. And in speaking, there is creativity and expression. As I do the PowerPoint, there's creativity in expression. So it doesn't just happen drawing, painting, sculpture, and photography. Creativity happens in other ways as well. But I have to tap into it. Simply sitting back saying, I am creative. Okay, how is it being expressed? How are you tapping into that talent, that divine impulse seeking to express as a drawing, painting, PowerPoint, speech? So just knowing it isn't enough. We have to apply it. We have to access it. We have to demonstrate it. Dr. Holmes goes on to say, it is right that we should be successful. Pause. It's important that we understand that successful, the way he's using it, isn't measured by the collective consciousness idea of success. It is right that we should be successful, for otherwise, spirit is not truly expressed. The divine cannot lack for anything, and we should not lack for anything that makes life worthwhile while we are here on this earth. Now, this is easy to slip into spiritual bypass because, the idea we should not lack for anything, and yet there are food deserts. There is war and death and destruction. So there's a lot of lack that people experience. And if we don't necessarily, I don't live in a food desert, but I know that there are people who do. What am I doing to eradicate food desert for others? What am I doing to eradicate the exposure to and the senselessness of war? I'm not experiencing it. I don't live in a war zone, but there are people who do. What am I doing where I am with what I have and as who I am to shift and change so that there truly is a world that works for all? It is right that we should be successful. It is right that we all should life, liberty, and the divine right to be happy. We hold this truth to be self-evident, that all of creation, made in, through, and as the very image and likeness of the divine, has this as our inalienable and undeniable divine right, that among this is the right to life and life abundantly, liberty and true emancipation, equity, and justice, and happiness and joy as our divine experienced birthright. Are we willing to do what is necessary to manifest that individually and collectively? Because once again, if we are so focused on being elevated and enlightened, then we are engaging in the spiritual caste system, and we are envisioning that the people who ascend the mountain and reach the top are better than, they're smarter than, they're more holy than. And they're not. Not the way that we typically identify them as. So let's pause and ask, first of all, referencing what Dr. Holmes said, what does it mean to be successful? Is just going to the top of the mountain successful? Is that what success looks like? You've reached the top of the mountain. You are successful. Yes, you may have successfully navigated and climbed. Yes. But once again, linguistic convenience. Once again, we can get caught into the jargon of to be successful at something. Does that mean you are successful? To be successful at something you set as an intention, does it mean that you are, the way he's referencing success, does it mean that you are successful? And I ask this specifically because there are a great many people who have done heinous things, and they did them with great success. They did heinous things with great success. Their intention was to hurt, and they hurt. Their intention was to harm, and they harmed. Their intention was to eliminate, and they were successful in the elimination of someone or something. But does that success mean that they are successful in the way that Dr. Holmes just referenced it? No. So it is important for us to be mindful and be aware. How does success, as we reference it in our spiritual practice, in our spiritual teaching, how does it make the world a better place? Create a world that works for all. How does your success in whatever thing you are doing, how does it impact the world in more life-affirming ways? Or is it currently impacting in life-denying ways? The way theirs impacted in non-life-affirming ways. Because they were very successful in creating non-life-affirming effects and conditions and experiences. Breathe. We are surrounded by an infinite possibility. It is goodness, it is life, it is law, and it is reason. And it has the impulse, because it doesn't just wish, it has the impulse to express in us, through us, and as us. So even though I just remixed it to a certain degree, we're going to remix it a little bit more. The all that is the absolute infinite possibility. We are not only surrounded by it, we are divine incarnations of it. All that it is as infinite good, infinite goodness, life, love, law, and reason, and wonder, is always expressing through us, in us, and as us. The question is, are we embodying and expressing it in life-affirming ways or non-life-affirming ways? And you can ask yourself, how does love show up in a non-life affirming way? How does goodness show up in a non-life affirming way? How does life show up in a non-life affirming way, etc.? Because the moment we can discern and we understand, we're not simply engaging in the jargon for linguistic convenience, but we are able to discern and describe more specifically what we are referring to and how it is being embodied and expressed. Says, communion with the Spirit is one of the greatest privileges of life. Now, by communion, we mean silently entering into divine harmony and beauty until we feel that harmony and beauty in our own soul, in our own mind. And yes, you already know it, we are going to remix this. Because this idea of communion with and silently entering into, yes. So if you are ready, chicka Let's remix. And in order to remix it, let's linguistically understand what it means come, as in communion. Come, as we use in communion, communicate, etc. Community means to be with, to be together, in association, and completely. So keep this in mind as we remix and talk about communion. With, together, in association, and completely. So, what we refer to as communion with Spirit is one of the greatest realizations of life. By communion, we mean realizing and recognizing the divine harmony and beauty of Spirit is right now where we are, as we are. Therefore, this communion with Spirit is the embodiment of this truth. It is the full bodied experience of this harmony and beauty, this oneness in, through, and as our own souls, in, through, and as our own mind, in, through, and as our own lives. And that, this truth, applies to all right now. See, we're always in communion with the Spirit. The Spirit is all there is. It has to be with, together, in association, and completely what it is, wherever it is, which is everywhere, always, and in all ways. So the question is not whether we are in communion with the Spirit, but are we, and how are we, in the highest, quote unquote, most life affirming way, embodying this completeness, expressing this togetherness, this oneness, this beauty, this harmony. How are we embodying it in, through, and as, and expressing? Art reminds us the eye which I see God is the same eye which God sees me. Say again. The eye which I see God is the same eye which God sees me. Now, we're going to remix this because this is symbolic. Once again, linguistic convenience, the eye and seeing. Because we reference the eye and seeing as, some version of enlightenment and illumination and awareness. But those who are also sightless, meaning they are blind, can also have the awareness. They don't need the eyes. They don't need eyesight to see. Remember, not too long ago, somewhere in May, we talked about the idea of eyesight, insight, foresight, God sight. In all the ways that I recognize that which I call God, God, in reciprocal fashion, recognizes itself as me. We could stop right there and call it a day. Every time I recognize God, every time I recognize and call something God, call it divine, that is God recognizing itself as me and as that. When I see God in nature, in art, in the face of another, God sees me. God recognizes itself. When I hear God in music, in wind, in the voice of another, God hears me. When I reach out and touch God in the soil of my garden, the clay on the potter's wheel, the hug or elbow tap with another, God touches me. When I feel love, joy, sadness, grief, God feels me. Breathe. Because if we are going to reach higher heights, then this whole idea of being seen, seeing, and being the sight itself, it's all one and the same. The concept of old New Thought, we still reference God as an anthropomorphic, separate, predominantly masculine entity or idea. There is you and there is God. And what we are invited into is new thought, New Thought 4.0, Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0, where we understand and recognize, where we embody the infinite awareness that there is only one. And what it is, you must be. As Meister Eckhart says, between me and God, there is no between. And as Dr. Holmes reminds us, for the only God you and I will ever know is the one we embody. Never forget that. How are we embodying the divine? In the same way that I've spoken about being an artist, how do I embody what it means to be an artist? Well, it shows up in how the art is expressed. When I paint, when I draw, when I speak, when I write, how is the art? How is God being expressed as your divine embodiment? When we truly study, practice, and embody the science of mind and spirit as a way of life, we perceive beyond the jargon of higher, deeper, farther. It almost reminded me of Miss Marvel, higher, further, faster. We understand and may continue to use the linguistic convenience of the jargon. We may still use the words because we live within this time-space continuum where such words have a point. The words point to what we're referring to. But if we are immobilized by the jargon, then we're not able to live fully. So it's important that we truly understand that the symbol is merely a sign that is pointing the way, and it's not the way itself. The word God isn't God. It is a three-letter word that is a signpost that gives access to the infinite. That is every name, no name, that which is yet to be named, the unnameable. When I say the word apple, you don't have it. It doesn't just automatically, poof, apple. The word is a symbol that lets you know when I say, hold on, I'm going to text you. Do me a favor, when you go to the store, can you pick up a bag of apples and the words are a symbol that give you the access, give you the ability to now go to the store to pick it up. So we don't let the words, we don't let the jargon immobilize us. I digress. We are the way in how we embody the divine, how we welcome, how we invite, how we comfort, how we forgive, how we laugh, how we love, and how we are being that which is our fullest expression of spirit, moment by moment, breath by breath. A couple of weeks ago, during our Wednesday night Science of Mind and Spirit discussion group, there was the section in the extension study course where we were talking about how old, I think it said, how old do you think you are? Or how old are you? And in our discussion, one of the things I brought up was the invitation that instead of measuring our life in years, I'm 58 years old. What if we measured it in seasons of love? We measured it in sunsets and sunrises, the beauty of. We measured it in rainbows and laughter. What if we measured it in moments of the divine, moments of deep mysticism, mystical ecstasy? What if we qualified or quantified our lives based upon the fullest expression of how we are living, not just existing, but living our lives? This week's affirmation declaration, I will say it first, and if by some chance this resonates with you, say it with me on the second go round. I continually ascend to higher heights in my spiritual awareness and practice. Together. I continually ascend to higher heights in my spiritual awareness and practice. So it is. This week's journal questions and weekly discussion study group questions. What are some of the obstacles that I experience in moving to higher heights? What's preventing me from going to higher heights? Before I even go there, let me ask, what are higher heights for me? What does that even look like? What does that mean for me? So that way we're not getting stuck in jargon. Higher heights, what does it mean? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Number 3, what am I invited to learn, to know, to do, to be, in order to move to higher heights in my life? What does beloved community moving to higher heights mean to me? It says to you, but to me. What does it mean for my beloved community, the community, to move to higher heights? And lastly, since there really is no hierarchy, therefore there is no higher that I need to go, how do I live, move, and have my being in the awareness and the embodiment of right where I am, God is? How do my values mirror and align with this awareness and this embodied realization? Let's pray. Simply anchoring into this infinite awareness of all that is, being right where each and every person is right now. The infinite all that is right where each person is, individualizing itself, incarnating itself, expressing itself in, through, and as each and every one and everything, always and in all ways. That which God is. Between me and God, there is no between. All that God is, I am that which I am ever becoming more of the truth of my being. That which God is. So as I speak these words, I know that right now there is nowhere that I need to go. Right here. There is nothing necessarily that I need to quote unquote do, be right now. As Thich Nhat Hanh and other master Buddhist monks would say, be here now. Be here now. As that which God is, as that which love is, as that which joy is, as that which is the truth of our being. Be here now. For in the being here now, greater expression, greater creativity, greater inspiration, greater and greater and greater demonstration of the divine overflows to such a degree that I drink from my saucer because my cup runneth over. That which is the infinite well spring of spirit shows itself, and in the showing of itself, in the embodying of it, I live successfully. I live fully, and what is true of me is true for all. Successful in the being here now. Successful in the being embodiment of the divine here now. Successful in the creative expression, the divine spiritual magnificence showing itself here now. The only God that there is for me, for we to truly know and truly experience is the one that we embody and the one that we express by being here now. As practitioner Charlie Shepherd would often remind as a bumper sticker, you are God. Now act like it. The law receives, the law says yes, and the law acts accordingly. You are God. Now act like it. Answered prayer, you are God. Now act like it. Living this life as the very demonstration of our amen. You are God. Now act like it. Be it now. And so I breathe, recognizing that it is already done, it is already so. I successfully embody. I successfully express. I successfully live by being that which God is right here and right now. And what is true for me is true for all who are listening. Be here now. It is done, it is so, and so it is. Namaste and blessings, everyone. Have an amazing, 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 successful Sunday. And I believe, double check in the chat, but I believe we will be having an after service fellowship over in Zoom. So I look forward to seeing you over in Zoom. And once again, as it is Pride Month, happy Pride.